a 3-year-old child allegedly raped within the premises of her school, a prominent institution in suburban Mumbai. The alleged perpetrator, a 57-year-old founder trustee of the school. The police suspect he was aided by a female teacher.
एक ऑफेंस रजिस्टर हुआ है पुलिस स्टेशन में स्कूल के अगेंस्ट में, और स्कूल के टीचर और ट्रस्टी मेंबर है उनके अगेंस्ट में ऑफेंस रजिस्टर हुआ है। उसके ऊपर इन्वेस्टिगेशन शुरू है। अभी विक्टिम का एग्जामिनेशन और स्टेटमेंट्स रिकॉर्ड करने का प्रोसेस शुरू है। इन्वेस्टिगेशन में जो तथ्य सामने आएंगे उसके अनुसार कार्रवाई करने के इन्वेस्टिगेशन ऑफिसर जो मेडिकल रिपोर्ट प्राप्त होगा उसके बाद कार्रवाई करेंगे।
And while the school has withheld comment, the accused trustee, out of the country on a school trip, wrote an email to parents of all students pleading his innocence. Mirror Now has accessed that email. Investigators say the school is cooperating in the probe. The police have established contact with the accused trustee and have asked him to return to the country to join investigations. This case is another worrying statistic in shocking cases of child sexual abuse inside India's schools. Mirror Now report.
Well, this is an important thing to talk about, and I apologize to our viewers because this story is shocking and disturbing. A very, very affluent school in Mumbai has a trustee and a founder who has worked there for a very long time. There is now a complaint that this person on school premises raped and sodomized a 3-year-old. A 3-year-old who was sent there by its parents out of trust. This trustee is now overseas, believe it or not, traveling with class 12 students in whose custody he is. We allow our children and we send our children to school every day, trusting that our children will be safe. We're not allowed to follow our children inside of the school. We can drop them to the gate and then we have to go home. What happens to them inside of those schools? Why is this horror still continuing? And we understand that there have been problems with the police taking this case seriously enough because the school is powerful and influential. There are many questions we have to ask ourselves tonight. Why isn't the police taking this more seriously? To the parents at home, I want you to ask yourselves if you've had a conversation with your toddler or with your child about good touch and bad touch, about whether or not they understand what is wrong and who they should come and complain to. And as a parent, you also need to ask yourself right now if you've always taken your child seriously whenever they've cried and said they don't want to go to school. Why is it that teachers have not noticed that something was wrong? There's so many problems with this case right now, and I want to bring in, representing the government, Aarti Sate, spokesperson of the BJP. Flavia Agnes is the director for a Centre of Women, and she's a very strong voice who talks on behalf of women and children. Priya Hingorani is the former Vice President, Supreme Court Bar Association, and former member of the legal panel of the Women and Child Development Ministry. Anjali Pawar is a women's rights activist. S. Balakrishnan is an activist who has been working in cases like this and specifically paying attention to this case. Uday Sahai is a former IPS officer working in Delhi. Bindu Bhatia is a concerned parent. Mrinalini Deshmukh is a very senior lawyer. I want to welcome all of you to this conversation. I'll start with S. Balakrishnan because you're familiar with this case, Mr. Balakrishnan. Did the police take the complaint seriously enough?
I don't think so, because the kind of statements unnamed police officials had given to the media last evening makes me extremely uncomfortable. Because the gravity of the offense is so very serious. Imagine a 3-year-old innocent child being repeatedly raped and then sodomized and worse, that too in the school premises. And apparently she was escorted to the trustee's room by one of her own teachers. So what can be more kind of horrible than this, which is happening right in the middle of this city in a place like Andheri? If
you believe, or you believe that the police did not take this case seriously, why?
See, because the kind of statements, because I have written to the police commissioner, Mr. Datta Parsalgikar today, very extensively written, because what made me sit up and take notice is not only the gravity of the offence, but the kind of the statements which are coming from the police. And I have requested the police commissioner to immediately hand over the investigation to the crime branch, which can do a far more professional job than what the MIDC police is doing. And this is not the first time such an incident is kind of happening. In the past, in a school in Bangalore also, a child was gang raped, and then the trustee who was based in Bombay, he went absconding, and finally he was tracked down and arrested. But the far more dangerous thing is that people who are in custody of our children, they continue to hold office. The gentleman of the school is based in Bombay. Kind of the rape happened in a school in Bangalore, but still nobody objects to his presence.
Right.
And similarly, with this trustee is a founder trustee of the school. He will continue to be a trustee. There is no law which kind of debars such people from doing that. So this incident has got larger issues, and the police, the seriousness with which it should have been handled. The teacher who escorted the child to the room where this kind of the sexual offence took place, she has not been placed under arrest so far. I just wonder what is preventing the police from doing that. The school has got parents who are highly influential, and I would like to believe that they are putting pressure on the police to go soft on this case.
But why would the parents, Mrinalini Deshmukh, this is so scary. For any parent right now who has a toddler, why would the parents want the police to go easy on the school?
Absolutely shocking to hear what has happened to a 3-year-old. But to answer your question in a more practical manner, I think parents have now become, it's so difficult to get admission in good schools. Today, every parent wants to give his or her child the best education which is there. And then, I mean, naturally it is expected that everybody should come out and talk about it, give a voice to this entire thing which is happening. However, we notice that parents take a back foot, they are on a back foot. They want to ensure that their child is not disturbed, the education is not disturbed, not realizing an important fact that God forbid it could be your child tomorrow. Unless you raise a voice, unless you show that no, we all are together and we will not tolerate such kind of nonsense being done to our children, because it is the way these trustees are behaving, because of the money power, the muscle power, etc. that they have. Unless we all parents become really vigilant citizens, vigilant parents, and sort of, in unison give a voice to this entire thing, it will not happen. Because what the trustees and what these education board people think is that what is one incident that is there, the media is going to talk about it for a day or two, the police may or may not do something, things will go on after a week or so. This mindset which is there with these people, which is there, needs to be shaken up, and that can only happen if the law and order situation improves, if there is more care, safety which is provided to the children within the school precincts. Now, where else do you expect a child to be safe? Your home and the school. If the school is not a safe place for the child, what can the parent do? And that is why a strict action has to be taken against not only the so-called presumed to be the accused, as they call it, or the alleged offenders, but even to be sent a warning, a signal showing that this kind of thing has to stop immediately, otherwise there will be stringent action.
I want to bring in Aarti Sathe, who represents the government here. Aarti Sathe, I'm very glad to have you as part of this conversation, because you're also a legal voice. Why is it that in the state of Maharashtra, there are a couple of states in our country that have actually created policies on how schools need to deal with these problems, how schools have to, run background checks on every employee that they bring in. Schools have to have CCTV cameras that they need to look at to see that no child is being segregated, taken aside, there's no particular adult spending time with a child alone. Why is it in the state of Maharashtra we don't have that policy yet?
See, as far as these private schools are concerned, the education department really has a very limited role to play. In terms of the safety measures or what the schools really need to do becomes more of an internal process which each of the school has to adopt. I don't know, you have not revealed the identity of the school, but I have information that it seems to be some sort of IB school. Now, as far as these IB schools are concerned, the state government's role, like I mentioned, is very limited to the extent of only, ensuring that they really incorporate the provisions of the Right to Education Act and at the same time giving them a clearance or an NOC. Thereafter, the internal workings as far as the safety, security, syllabus, all these kind of things, I mean, I'm just, listing out a few things, are primarily the responsibility of the school, which is run by that trust or by that organization. As far as the other schools are concerned, where, the state exercises certain powers, we have ensured that there are, I won't say more or less, but enough security measures which have been put into place. In fact, a few months back, we had a show on police reforms, and one of the police reforms which Maharashtra state government has really initiated is the police Sakhi concept, whereby in fact young police constables, women especially, go to schools, and school children, young school children can come to them, and they are educated about the right touch and the wrong touch. They can come and speak to the police officers if they are in, some sort of difficulty, like in this heinous case which has just happened. So I think it's not that the state government is not doing anything by way of police reforms. It is bringing about a lot of safety measures, but the IB schools, the private schools, do not come under our purview, and hence the internal
I beg to differ.
I don't agree at all.
I wanted to hear you out.
May I just complete? Aarti, with utmost respect, a state government cannot say whether this comes under me, this doesn't come under me. The safety is a priority of the government. The law and order is the priority of the government. And the government really cannot just, find a way out and say that this doesn't come under us.
Yeah, I want to bring in Flavia Agnes. Flavia Agnes, the Maharashtra State Commission for Protection of Child's Rights has a citizens' charter. Now, if the state is handing out NOCs to these schools, which have to be renewed on a regular basis, can't the state also include that you have to follow certain major points to make sure children are safe under the POCSO Act, where basically you are vetting the people who you hire, you are putting in CCTV cameras, you are actually doing basic surveillance of what's happening in the school? Is it okay for the school to say this is not our responsibility or it's not in our jurisdiction?
You mean the government?
Absolutely not. Because everybody is governed by the POCSO Act and the Child Protection Policy. So there is no question of opting out of it. And what the official from the state government said is not at all correct, because it is the responsibility of the state to ensure that every child is safe wherever the child is. You cannot say this child is at home and we cannot do anything. The child is in school, we cannot do anything. Child is on the street and we cannot do anything. Such a thing doesn't exist. And there has to be a child protection policy, and everybody has to be governed by that policy. And it should be applicable to all the schools across board. Whoever operates such a school, they should be governed by the policy. And it is up to the protection of the Committee for the Protection of the Child Rights to ensure that this is applicable and this is followed in everywhere. It's not a question of the reputation of the school. It is a question of the safety of the children. So when children's safety is at stake, and this is happening all the time, these kind of violations happen all the time, and unless these protective measures are in place, I don't think our children will be safe.
Priya Hingorani, who joins us right now, is the former Vice President of the Supreme Court Bar Association. Priya, whose responsibility is it to keep our children safe when they go to school? Because as a parent, I have to leave, I have to let go of my child's hand at the school gate. I can't go in. What happens after that?
It is the responsibility of the school as well as the state, according to me. The state government cannot say that we have nothing to do with the safety and security of the children in the private schools. There are certain norms which are universal, which have to be universal, and they have to apply to each school, and there has to be a watchdog for the private schools as well, and that is where the state governments step in. As far as the schools are concerned, of course, the proper verification has to be done of the teachers and the employees, even the class floor employees. But what, according to me, is also important is the way the children are trained at home. What they are taught at home is equally important. At home, many parents tell the children that don't talk to strangers, don't go and talk to people you are not comfortable with. But at the same time, they also have to be told, the children have to be told that if you have some kind of a problem, or if you do identify a good touch or a bad touch, do go and speak to somebody in the school itself. In this particular case, I also wish to point out that it's very important that the medical examination of the child should have been done at the first instance when the child complained to the parents. It seems that that was not done, and I think that's very important for awareness in the PTA meetings, in the meetings with the state departments, with the police going and interacting with the parents as well as the children, that in cases like this, they must at the first instance file a complaint, also get the medical examination done so that time does not pass through.
I want to bring in Uday Sahai as well, former DCP Delhi, former DCP of the Delhi Police. Uday Sahai, there are very clear rules on how the police need to behave if there is a case of sexual crime against children, where the testimony has to be taken, how the children have to be spoken to. And it does seem like in this particular case, the police have not followed all of the rules, Uday Sahai.
Yeah, I agree with you that there are laid down procedures and rules in cases of this kind where the victim is a minor. And POCSO is one such act about which all cops are supposed to know at length how to use that. At the same time, when you talk about state, in every state you have a commission for protection of child rights, and this commission is supposed to constantly create awareness in terms of going to school by school and telling them what are the do's and what are the don'ts. At the same time, training police officials, earmarking them in the police station in special investigation on child abuses. I don't know whether such things have happened in this case, because it has happened in Maharashtra. Details I do not have, but then it is little shocking to me that they have imposed POCSO later on. In case the sodomy has happened, in case the rape has happened, and both has happened, it's very shocking. As it is, why do you have to take 2 days to decide whether POCSO Act should be attracted or not? So there is something very seriously missing in this case, and it is evident.
Has not been picked up so far.
Right, and anyone hiding evidence.
I would like to say something in this regarding.
Yes, I just want to take this piece. Okay, go ahead, Anjali.
Yeah. Actually, everybody is talking about this good touch, bad touch. I'm having some reservations about it. Being a child rights activist, child should know where, if any person is touching that child on their private parts, we should talk with the names and tell those children where it is. If anybody touched, you have to stop them. It's good touch, bad touch. Sometimes some children's, if you are giving massage, they are going to like, but it's abuse if any other person is doing. So stop this good touch, bad touch things. Talk about these are your private parts. If anybody touch you, you just report it to people next to you.
All right, Anjali, I'm going to come back to you. I have a question for Aarti Sathi. Anjali, I'm going to come back to you. I have a question for Aarti Sathi. Aarti Sathi, point number 1 is the legal experts on the panel disagree with you that to say that the state government has no jurisdiction over IB schools. You have jurisdiction over all schools. The education department has jurisdiction to insist on certain levels of security.
Of course.
Point number 2, Aarti Sathi, we have very clear policies on Vishaka guidelines of what happens if there is any sort of even mild sexual offence in a workplace for women or for men. Why is it that the state government of Maharashtra doesn't have a similar policy for children? Where children go to school, if there is a complaint, there should be a clear guideline for those schools to say, how do you deal with this complaint? How does the principal deal with this complaint? How do you deal with the offender? How soon do you have to file a complaint? How do you deal with the victim and the victim's parents? We don't have that yet. We don't have clear guidelines on what needs to be done. We have some vague guidelines about school buses, but we don't have them about schools themselves. Don't you think, Aarti Sathi, we should have those guidelines uniform to all schools, whether they're government schools to IB schools, irrespective of the fees being paid? Our children are precious.
I think first and foremost there has been a bit of a misinterpretation of the fact that I said that the state government, I never said that the state government is not responsible for the law and order situation in the state. All that I said, that the internal workings of a private school or an IB school in this case is not under the prerogative of the state government. Ultimately, it is something which has to be privately run by the
How
school.
does Aarti say this? It is shocking.
Back to the fact
This is simply shocking. How can you say it like that? The state government's rig runs inside in the school
anybody
too.
on this panel. I have not interrupted anybody on this panel. I have not completed my statement.
But how can you make such a statement? The state government is not responsible for what goes on inside in the school. You give the NOC. Does it mean that tomorrow the rate?
I never said the. I never. 1 minute. 1 minute. Listen, if 1 minute.
Okay,
1 minute. I did not interrupt you.
Finish your point and then we'll rebut.
Not to interrupt me before I finish the entire speech. Please, please. Exactly. I did not say that the state government is not at all responsible. What I said is that the internal working of the school, the state government cannot regulate on a day-to-day basis what happens inside the school.
They can.
But tomorrow, if a complaint is filed, the state government and the police, which comes under the Home Ministry, has taken cognizance. At the same time, the Criminal Amendment Act 2013 has brought about Section 376 of the IPC, wherein there are 14 people who have been enlisted, 14 categories of people who have been enlisted, who will be given rigorous imprisonment and 7 years imprisonment, or it can even go up to life imprisonment. The POSCO Act also has been enacted. There have been fast-track courts. POSCO Act will be in due course enacted, or rather, there are trials happening under the POSCO Act. So wherever the state government has to step in, we have stepped in. There are enough and more provisions under the law which take care of these situations. And when a police complaint comes to the state government, which comes obviously under the Home Ministry, the police are acting on it. So to say that the state is doing nothing or the state is... Okay, maybe this is a case in point for the state to consider that if policies have to be formulated, then surely we will consider that. But to say that on each and every day the state has to regulate what happens in every school is something which the state government is not really in a position.
It's not the question of regulation. It's not the question of regulation.
Sorry, Aarti, if you're finished, I just want to add one more thing. You're talking about what are the penal provisions available. What about the state government's role as a preventive measure to ensure that such things don't happen, that the safety is ensured? I understand that if there's such a thing there are so many amendments which are being done and that is why there are certain remedies available. But why wait for that? We're talking about kids. We're talking about them, Aarti, and I think in fact, the government should assume the role of a responsibility and a parent and a guardian of every child in the state.
There are states that have proven that they can make a policy.
In this case, it is more than 48 hours since the complaint has been lodged. The teacher concerned who escorted the child to the trustee's room has not been taken into for custodial interrogation. What is it that prevents the MIDC police? What prevents the police from taking this?
I want to bring in Bindu Bhatia is a parent. Bindu Bhatia is a parent.
Going on. If you are an ex-IPS officer, you should know that the investigations take time.
No, the ex-IPS officer on the panel is Uday Sahay,
in this regard. Taking any arrest that what are the medical examination, the child statement has to be recorded. In fact, for that matter, the complaint has been registered after 7 months.
Well, Aarti Sathe, I'm not a lawyer, but I know you
are. But you know why it has taken them several months to lodge the complaint? Please try to put yourself in the shoes of the parents.
Let's not get emotional. I know this is an emotional and a valid issue, but the law is very clear. Aarti Sathe, the law is very clear. Let me go back to Flavia Agnes. Flavia Agnes, the POCSO law is very clear. The burden of proving or disproving the crime is on the accused and not the victim, because the victim in this case is a minor.
Yes.
The police are required to take into custody immediately as soon as they receive a complaint and then go about their investigation, because this person might prove to be a risk to other children. This person is currently, one second Aarti, this person is currently in Paris with more children of the 12th standard. The teacher who has been accused of abetting the crime is not in custody right now. Flavia Agnes, be very clear, just so also parents understand who are watching right now. The burden of proof lies on whom, and what should the police have done?
The police have a greatest role to play in cases of POCSO, because there's a clear rule of how the investigations have to be done, how the arrest has to be made, how the victim statement has to be recorded. It's all there in writing. There's nothing left to imagination. The problem here, it seems that there are twofold problems. One is we are not doing enough to protect our children. as a preventive measure that every school is alert, every school knows exactly what to do, every parent knows exactly what to do. So there's a long delay actually in the parents accepting that there is child sexual abuse, the parents reporting the crime, because there is so much of hesitancy in reporting. Once the case is reported, the police are supposed to act immediately, because medical evidence is very critical, very crucial, and it has to be done immediately. And the arrest of the accused, what is most shocking is that the person is on official duty with another batch of students, and that had to be recalled immediately because there is so much danger for other children, some of whom will be minors, and they are on a foreign tour with the same person, and that has to stop immediately because the safety of other children is at stake as well. And somebody who has violated the law to such an extent cannot be given that leeway to say that, okay, when he comes back to country, let us see what to do with him. That is not to be allowed at all. And it's the duty of the police to ensure the safety not only of this child but of all the other children of the same school.
Absolutely. I want to bring in Bindu Bhatia. Bindu Bhatia as a parent. Bindu, this story sent shivers down my spine, and I'm still concerned about the fact that this person who raped and sodomized the child repeatedly managed to get away with it for so long, Bindu.
And this is infuriating. I don't know how I'm going to send my kid to school anytime, and which school. I mean, it's such a big decision point. And my question to everyone here and whoever is watching this is, what is the responsibility of the school? Then I understand there is one person who committed the crime, but where is the school being held responsible? Under whose supervision this happened? We trusted the school. If CCTV cameras are installed there, who's manning it? How is it possible that something as heinous as this happened and nobody watched it? Then who's responsible? How will I send my kid to school now? And how will any parent? I mean, every time I send my kid to school, I have this fear. And here, people who are talking about good touch, bad touch, boss, this is 3-year-old girl. I have a 3-year-old. She can't even speak full sentences.
She's not going to understand.
So, understand is a distant thing. I mean, how can you even think about responsibility of the parent to explain? Okay, even if I explain, if she gets into that situation, she can't even defend herself. Forget about telling. Even if she tells me as a parent now, if I know something like this has happened, I just have more fear that if I go out, what all will my child has to go through? One medical examination, that too under a government hospital. Now in government hospitals, I have heard some horrific stories that, government, that people have faced when they took their children. Just to quote somebody, one of the government doctors actually asked a child who was refusing to show the private passport, what is it in that guy that you showed it to him but not me? Imagine a 2.5-year-old child, this question was asked. What all children will go through. As a parent, I will now never ever even think of going and filing an FIR if this is what my child will go through, if God forbid something happens. Forget about government checkup. Now you go to police. There are parents who are made to wait for 2 hours with their children in the police station. Our children, if they go through this, these 3-year-old kids have to.
Bindu, I must point out to you that in these cases, it is very clear, the law is very clear that parents don't have to take their children to the police station.
You're not supposed to go to the police station.
Yes, a police officer in plain clothes has to come home.
They have to.
Yes, go ahead. Priya, go ahead. Please tell parents watching at home what the rules are very clearly about children who are victims.
Yeah.
Really means
the law is very clear. The law is very clear. The parents are not supposed to go to the police station.
Going to a magistrate and talking about what happened to him or her. Forget about once. It's 3 times a child needs to go and tell the entire story. And we are talking about 3-year-old kid, Faye. They have to tell this story 3 times as per the law. How ridiculous is that?
Right, before I understand, Aarti Sathe has to leave. Aarti, I have 2 people on the phone line. I want you to just hear out what they say and respond to them. And then I do understand you have to leave. Dr. Heena's on the phone line from Mumbai. Dr. Heena, go ahead.
Yeah, hello. Hi, this is Dr. Hina. I am a gynecologist and I am a mother of 3-year-old twins. This piece of news that I read in the newspaper has shaken me up. I am absolutely, it's freaking me out. And trust me, as a doctor, as a mother, I know how it goes. Our primary aim should be prevention. Please, guys, it's an appeal as a mother, as a doctor, as on behalf of every mother on this planet. I appeal that prevention is the first thing. Let this never happen again, because this is something as a doctor, I know when a patient comes to me, I should not go wrong. Same way as a mother, when I send my children to school, nothing should go wrong. It is like a temple where my child is going, but I am sending the children with full faith. We need to do what it takes. We need fast-track courts. We need to have stringent laws. A punishment that needs to be given to somebody who has done something should be so severe that nobody should ever think of doing something to a child ever again. Forget going to the police and forget going. I understand all that. The law should be so strict that an offense of anywhere close, forget rape, even anywhere close to molestation, listen, you're going to scar the child for life. Absolutely. Anywhere close to a child.
Right. Let me just, I understand your point. S.K. Gupta is on the phone line from Chandigarh. Mr. Gupta, go ahead.
Hello.
Yes.
This is Professor Dr. S.K. Gupta from Chandigarh.
Yes,
hello, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I have worked on developing societies. I'm a sociologist. I would like to say something very suggestive and absolutely firm in my mind.
Yes.
In the forthcoming parliament session, what I would like that certain laws needs to be changed. They have to be made in such a manner that a quick decision is taken. It is shocking that a person of the stature of a trustee, he has been repeatedly sexually abusing the 3-year-old girl for so long and nothing has happened so far. I would like to suggest, number one, as I said earlier, it's a major disease. And whenever there is a major disease, major surgeries are required.
Yes.
I repeat, surgeries are required. In the setup, as I said, certain laws needs to be quickly changed and not less than life imprisonment. Even I will go to the extent of capital punishment.
Capital punishment for anybody who harms a child who is completely defenseless at 3 years old. Rashmi from Mumbai, very quickly, go ahead. Rashmi from Mumbai. Rashmi, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hello.
Go ahead, Rashmi.
Yeah. We had one of our mother parents from Hindu. Yeah.
Go ahead, Rashmi.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Just a voice of concern. Me also being a parent of a 17-year-old girl. And I really miss it. Shocking that something of such a thing has happened to a 3-year-old girl. And someone from the board said that they cannot interfere with the day-to-day working of IB schools or private schools. And they step in after some incident has been reported. But the person speaking there is a mother. She is a female. I think it's the time that at least she stands up for it. She or all stand up for it. We should stop. Prevention is the main step that has to be taken to stop this. We cannot wait for some act or policy telling us that after this, it's not our right. This is the...
Okay, let me take that question to Aarti Sathe. Aarti Sathe, we need a couple of things from the Maharashtra government to begin with. One is a policy, and this is something we need across the country. Mr. Sahai, I can see your hand up. I'll come to you. One policy across the country on how schools need to deal with their employees. Should there be background checks of them? Should there be CCTV cameras? Should there actually be files on every employee? Secondly, Aarti Sathe,
but why only employee? But even the trustees, the office bearers of
anybody
every institution.
who comes in contact with the children.
Yeah, they must be having a police clearance for them.
And secondly, this particular case, can we put better police officers on this case, Aarti Sathe, because these police officers obviously not doing their job?
Well, I've heard all the comments, suggestions, even some sort of allegations to show that there's no insensitivity when I said that the state government is not, I never said state government is not responsible. But at the same time, let me tell you that whatever is in the means of the state government is responsible for every citizen of the state. And as a result thereof, implementation of law, enforcement of law is something which we will do, and this heinous crime which has taken place, we will see to it that the people who are behind this are brought to books. Children ultimately are the social fabric of this country, of this society. So the state is nowhere insensitive to the fact that these kind of things are happening. And hence, like I said, there are enough and more provisions in the law which have now been brought about. I repeatedly am saying that 376 section has been brought in force, whereby certain categories of people have been enumerated, and one of the categories is a relative or a guardian or a teacher or a person who is in a position of trust or authority towards the woman, in this case the child, so the child also includes a male child. And all these provisions, all these powers have been given to the police. The police don't even have to take a magistrate's order under section 153 of the CRPC. The police are investigating the case. Even under POSCO, there are certain provisions, there are certain things which have to be followed, medical examinations have to be taken place, the statements of the child have to be taken, and all this is being carried out. So the state in its capacity as the law enforcer, the law regulator, the lawmaker is doing everything and hence not shirking away from that responsibility. I can assure on behalf of the state government that these acts will not be committed in future. And if a deterrent policy needs to be put into place, we are more than happy to do that with suggestions from bodies, NGOs and parents, is the assurance I can give on behalf of the state government.
Anjali Pawar?
I would like to say something in this regards. Means if, like last time I also said, that if police is not acting as per what Act says, POXO Act says, this police has to book under 166A IPC and POXO 21(1). So they should be punished for not registering this.
Okay, all right. I want to bring in the other members of this panel. Uday Sai, one of the things that's causing me a lot of distress, Priya, immediately after this, is the fact that the police are not doing their jobs. And at the end of the day, if we are talking about deterring people from hurting 3-year-old children, here is a person who repeatedly hurt one 3-year-old child who is still completely scot-free. In fact, he has the audacity. He had the audacity to write an email to the parents saying, please wait for me to come back to the country and I will explain this misunderstanding to you. You are ruining my reputation. This is how lightly this entire problem is being taken, Uday Sai.
Well, you are absolutely right. You know, the law stands firmly with the child. We must not create an impression that the law is weak. There is a proactive law, there is a preventive law, and there is a reactive law. You know, already you have POXO, and POXO is supposed to stand behind the child to protect the child. But if the incident has already taken place, the IPC 376, 377 in this case also are equally implementable, and they would have they have already registered a case of rape and sodomy both. So these two are supplementary, they don't stand apart. But unfortunately in this case you see that POXO has been slapped or implemented at a later stage. That's one fallacy. Second is, there is an impression in this discussion as if the state doesn't have any role to play. This is the biggest wrong impression which is being created, because not only the police, you have the Commission for Child Rights in all the states, including Maharashtra. And this commission is supposed to proactively reach out to the school authorities and give them do's and don'ts on various aspects protecting the child, which they do. And I'm sure they would have done in Maharashtra too. But to what extent they have done that, I have no clue, so I would not comment on that. But there is a DCPCR in Delhi or NCPCR in Maharashtra. They are very much a part of the state. So not that the state doesn't have any role to play. Third agency, the Department of Education, as it is directly regulating these schools, and there's no reason to have a feeling that the state has no role to play.
No jurisdiction.
So this is the second point. And the third point is that end of the day, as some panelists rightly pointed out, what about other school authorities? Why are they keeping quiet? If a trustee has gone absolutely, astray in this particular case, why are they not condemning the act? Why they are not coming forth with their own strong statements, etc.?
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt you for a second. I'm going to have to interrupt you for a minute, Uday, but I have a parent who's on the phone line right now, someone who's called us at this point. This is a parent from the same school, same section, a different class who wants to talk to us. We will not really reveal your name on the channel. You are just a parent. Please tell us, what would you like to say? Go ahead.
Yeah, hello. This is regarding this the school we are talking about.
Yes.
Because my child obviously studies in the same school, the same class, in a different division altogether.
Okay.
I mean, we are talking about the same age. And regarding, the education process, how we got the admission, it's very difficult to get into these kind of schools where we spend a lot of hefty fees onto the same. But every time we have been made sure that monitoring of the child is in process. So wherever he moves and into it. Now I fail to understand under the POSCO law, because even if you just register under the POSCO law, the teacher is immediately teacher or anyone involved into it is immediately taken into custody. But in this case, I fail to understand why is the teacher not taken into custody for the first chance.
There's a point which you made.
And secondly, we are all traumatized. My wife and myself, we have been having sleepless nights. We have been getting all sorts of mails from the school authorities, from the class representatives on how it should be dealt, and we have been taken into a lot of positive.
What have the school authorities said to you so far? I'm interested to know what school authorities have said to parents so far.
We received the mailer from the trustees that initially they sent us a mail on how good the school is, how good we are doing it, and how good the school is. And then secondly, he just writes one sentence that, his name has been placed into such a big controversy. But frankly speaking, as a top IB school, this kind of a school does not have any management altogether. Okay, it's just one person who's taking care of the entire issue. So it's like the trustee, and then you have the sub teachers, and you have some authorities who are taking care of it. There's no management at all. So it's a very scary situation for all of us, and because I know, I have my son in the same class, and we have big problems that we really do not know how to tackle the situation for going, and why is the management not moving forward?
Well, I have in my hand this letter that the trustee in question has given has sent to parents of the school. It says things like, the school is now in its 18th year, and we celebrate our maturity with access to newly completed building. In the building, we will now establish our new joy, laughter, and respect for childhood. This goes on for about 4 paragraphs until finally he says, when it is time to rejoice, I had to suffer an injury to mind and reputation 3 days after I joined our class 12 students in Paris. I was accused of a serious misdemeanor. He goes on to say, I'm confident that in due course it will be revealed and clarified that the accusation is unfounded. In the meantime, I call upon your faith. You've trusted me for the last 20 years. The students have shared part of their childhood with me. This is insensitive. And the fact that this person felt that he could send such a complaint obviously means he has absolutely no fear. And let me point out, this is not an Indian national. He has no fear for law at all. Mrinali?
Absolutely. He has no fear for law. He has no sensitivity towards the children, and which is there. And how brazen can this, this entire thing shows how brazen he is about the entire incident. It doesn't matter to him. And he's wanting to create some kind of, park of fun and laughter and thing. Plus, please first ensure that their children are safe. That is where the parents trust you, and the parents want them to take as much care as they take of the children at home. If you cannot achieve that, then your big parks and your big laughter clubs have no value, sir. Please smell the coffee. We need the safety, the security and prevention of such things in the schools, and not what the laws are there and what they need to be done.
I want
you need to be dealt very
strictly.
strictly.
If this person is currently in Paris and he's not an Indian national, do we have any jurisdiction over him, Priya?
Yes, we do. He is obviously working in this school. He's a trustee. It doesn't say that he's not of Indian. He's absolutely. We have the jurisdiction to try him, and the police should actually make sure that he's back immediately and taken into custody, and the investigation should go on in the proper manner. Unfortunately, from what I've been hearing, the fact that it has been repeatedly happening with this minor child, why was not the school authority or the other teachers taken up this issue or put a stop to it? That is more frightening for me, that something like this has happened in the school repeatedly and no teacher has come forward or nobody from the school has come forward to put a stop to it or even report it. And the fact that this person is not coming back or is taking his time to come back and the police is not doing something about it, talks also very seriously about the stand the police is taking, and the fact that they are probably going soft on this school or this trustee.
Go ahead, Balak.
And I would like to say something.
I would like to say is that there is nothing which prevents the Maharashtra government from taking over the management of this school. There are legal provisions because after this incident, no child in that school, particular school, is safe. The government should immediately issue an order to take over the management of the school. It is perfectly within its purview to do that.
I have this question for Flavia Agnes. Flavia Agnes, this email that we are looking at right now, that this trustee has sent to all students, all parents, it means that the school is abetting. The school is allowing him to communicate with parents. The school believes that this is a false claim. The school stands by his justification that it will all be cleared up. Shouldn't the school be held responsible, Flavia? And under the Act, isn't the school responsible?
Yes, absolutely the school is responsible, because today there is a complaint, and unless the complaint is disproved, there is no question of innocence of this guy till he is proved guilty. It is the other way around, because now under POCSO, the burden is on him, and he has to discharge that burden, and only then he can say that he is innocent. At this point, at this preliminary stage, it is very, very dangerous for the school to assume that he is innocent, and that he should have access to the parents of all the children, and then to give out a statement about his innocence to the other people. But here I want to say one thing. The incident has happened. It has to be a remedial measure. But when a school of this type is trying to do something which is like out of the ordinary, some new methods of education, etc., to say that government should take over the management of the school, etc., I don't think that is proper. I think it's rather premature. First, the school should be given the authority to the opportunity to rectify itself and see what can be done, and how this. Firstly, this guy has to be booked. He has to be arrested. He has to be brought under the law. Secondly, the school should have a policy.
Right.
Excuse me.
I don't think that's the right statement to make, because
and all IB schools and all the schools should have a child protection policy.
That's an excellent point. All schools should have a child protection policy. Bindu Bhatia is the parent who wants to make a point. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So if today is not the right time to create that fear factor in the school authorities, that if anything happens in the premises, your school will be either shut down or taken care by someone else.
Exactly.
If there's if this fear is not there, whatever guarantees government is giving, I'm telling you, this is not going to stop, because there is no fear. Who is going to protect our children, and why? Tomorrow, if there is a stringent law that any school, if this is the kind of complaint that happens in any school, the school will be either shut down or immediately taken over by somebody. There has to be some fear that needs to be instilled over school authorities. I am sure that trustee will get whatever punishment, but then, this is not the preventive measure. The preventive measure is creating stringent laws.
Bindu Bhatia keeps saying the same thing, and I completely stand with her at this point. As parents, we know when we have toddlers.
I would like to make one comment regarding this.
Very quickly, go ahead.
The RT Act as well as POCSO Acts, Child Right Commission need to implement that. Since 2011, Child Right Commission not in exist. Only bureaucracy who is implementing Child Right Commission, whatever laws came, which supposed to implement by Child Right Commission. So Maharashtra just week back they appointed Child Right Commission members, which are all political, who don't have any child right background.
Yes, yes.
So I'm again, sir, going to be really sad that how these people are going to implement this Children's Act, where their responsibility is big, and they should be here to answer all these questions.
Okay.
No one is there from Child Right Commission to answer these questions.
There's nobody to answer our questions, and I have to wrap up this discussion, but I just want to point out one thing. As parents, we don't let go of our children's hands unless we are absolutely sure they're safe. Whether they're crossing the street or just going down to the shop around the corner, whatever it is, parents are constantly paranoid about their children's safety. Constantly paranoid. But to have to hear that a 3-year-old was sodomized and raped repeatedly inside the school by someone the person possibly trusted, how can we be okay with this? How is it that all of our laws right now talk about weekly punishing someone after he's done the crime? Why aren't we talking enough about policy of preventing the crime from happening? And schools are spaces of trust. Parents trust you. It is trust that you cannot take lightly, that the government cannot take lightly, that the police force cannot take lightly. We should turn schools into fortresses where our children can be safe, or allow us to come in and sit next to our children all day to make sure that they're safe. But do not take on the responsibility if you don't take it seriously. To the governments, it is your responsibility, for heaven's sake. To the police force, this should be the most important case that walked into the MIDC Andheri East Police Station. How is it that we're constantly concerned about proving the innocence of the accused instead of making sure that our children are safe? Where is our sense of responsibility? How will any parent, how will any parent go to sleep tonight knowing that their children have to go to school tomorrow? There is no deterrent, there is no safety. There is no deterrent and there is no safety. We have to take this more seriously. To our government, if you cannot keep our children safe, you do not deserve our votes. And that is the bottom line. Thanks for watching.